Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonker. Let's continue our discussion of NCERT science series. You already know on StudyIQ we are running a science discussion of NCERT books and we are in the class 8 discussion. We follow a chapter by chapter discussion model, and under this class 8 NCERT we are already done with chapter 1. We are done till chapter 7. I hope you remember in this sequence we have already discussed. If you want to view the previous discussions, you can always view the playlist which goes with the ID at the rate Rahul Sai 222, right? In the last class, we spoke about conservation of plants and animals. We spoke about deforestation, the ill effects of deforestation. We also spoke about protected areas, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. And we also saw how we can resolve the problem of deforestation by reforesting. I hope you remember all these things. Today, we'll move on and discuss chapter 8. Chapter 8 is the basic building of your biology knowledge. We'll talk about cell, its structure and functions. So basics of cell, some characteristics of cell, some organelles of the cell we'll discuss, and functions of it would be discussed. In fact, in our subsequent discussion also, when we talk about NCERT class 9, class 10, class 11, class 12, we'll be talking continuously about cells and the cell structure, where we'll refine our knowledge more and more. But I'll lay the ground here for your understanding of biology. So without any delay, let us begin our discussion. But before that, if you are a UPSC civil services aspirant, or if you know anybody who wants to prepare for civil services examination 2024, these are the batches which we are beginning very soon. StudyIQ offers a unique program where we will be handholding you from prelims till your interview. So we'll be handholding you in your prelims, in mains, and for your interview as well. In fact, if you clear your prelims examination 2024, the entire expenses of your mains residential program would be taken care of by StudyIQ. This comprehensive program is priced at an affordable range of 29,999. And if you want maximum discount, then do use the code Rahul Live on the app also or on our website. You can access or go to studyiq.com, or you can download the StudyIQ app on your Android phone. You'll get all the details there. Just whenever you check out, use the code Rahul Live. So enroll. If you are a working professional, I would say 6 p.m. class would be good for you. After you finish your 9 to 5 job, you can attend the classes here. If you are a regular aspirant, you can join the morning batch freshly 8 a.m. I'll see you in the class. Right, let's talk about cell. What is a cell? We all know our body is composed of billions of cells. A cell is a basic structural and a functional unit of all living organisms. It's a fundamental unit of any living being. Now, just like we build any building, see, right now I am in a studio which was constructed using bricks, cement, water, etc. You know. So very similar to how a building is made up of different bricks, our body is made up of different cells. They are arranged in some set or in some manner. The cells, when they are organized in certain way, they become your tissues. Tissues are organized in certain way, they become your organs, and your body is composed of this organ system. For the first time, the cell was basically saw, or it was observed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. But its observation under a microscope was done by Robert Hooke in 1665. What Robert Hooke did was, he took a cork. You do know cork is made up of the bark of the plants. So he took a fine cutting of a cork and he saw it under the magnifying glass, and he observed something like this. He saw that a cork is made up of different structures which are arranged in a very good manner, in a very decent manner, very similar to how we construct a building, a brick construction. Then he saw the same thing under microscope and observed that it is made up of, it is very similarly made up of kind of a brick like structure. That's why whenever we talk about cells, cells are like the bricks of a building. That's the building, right? That's the compound or a wall that we construct, a brick wall. Now if you take onion, we consume onion every day in our vegetables, in the sabzis, etc. So if you take a slice of onion and if you observe that under the microscope, you will find a very beautiful brick like structure. The onion peel is very similar to brick wall construction. Of course, you are seeing something round here in each and every brick or in each and every cell. That's the nucleus. So why we are doing this analogies, we need to understand how we construct a tall skyscraper. We build it brick by brick. Very similar to that, our body is built brick by brick, that is cell by cell. Now the next question arises, what is this cell structure? We'll talk about that. But our body, first of all, is made up of number of cells. That is why we are multicellular organisms or multicellular living beings. But as I told you, a cell is a structural, or I told it is a fundamental unit of any living being. In my body, if I take out some cell, if I take some skin cell, if I get hurt, some skin cells are already destroyed, but after a few days, new skin will emerge. For me, one or two cells or destruction of one or two cells it does not matter too much. But for a unicellular organism like amoeba, euglena, paramecium, or a bacteria, that single cell, it defines life. And if single cell is destroyed, then the entire life is over. But for human beings and for other complex organisms, like say even for insects are also multicellular organisms. Human body is composed of billions and billions of cells. That's why number of cells, a unicellular organism has single cell, and that cell defines its life. But for multicellular organisms like us, our body is composed of billions of cells. A billion is basically 1,000 million, and a trillion is basically 1,000 billion. That's your information, say from CSAT perspective. Do remember this. All right, a billion is 1,000 million, a trillion is 1,000 billion. Don't forget this. All right, so our body is composed of billions of cells, billions of different cells. So in terms of number of cells, unicellular have one cell, multicellular have many cells. Example us. In our body, we have different kinds or different shapes of cells as well. I told you there is a unicellular organism called amoeba. Now, amoeba, it has no definite shape. It has no definite shape. For instance, if I talk about bacteria, a bacteria or a prokaryotic cell has a structure something like this, where it might have a flagella or a cilia for its movement. Its cell is composed of cell membrane and a cell wall, and it has some nuclear material in it. That means its shape is defined. But for amoeba, its shape is not defined. It can change its shape according to its requirement. Whenever it wants to have food, we spoke about that in our previous discussion also. We spoke about pseudopodia. You remember that? Pseudopodia. These are called false legs of an amoeba. Whenever an amoeba is trying to eat, it will develop pseudopodia, and using that pseudopodia, it will engulf or it will digest whatever food it is having. So amoeba does not have any shape, but in our body we find many cells that have definite shapes. For instance, our blood has red blood cells. Red blood cells are normally round in color. They are spherical in color. Our muscle fibers are spindle like structure. Our neurons or nerve cells are made something like this. They are elongated. But very similar to different cells, some cells in our body can change shape also. Say for example, RBC cannot change its shape. The muscles cannot change its shape. Yes, they may stretch, yes, a little bit, but they do not change their core shape. But there are certain cells in human body which can change shape. For instance, we have WBC. We have white blood cells. Now, generally, white blood cells, which are say we can say monophils, basophils, neutrophils, eosinophils, lymphocytes, right? So these WBCs are generally round in structure, but WBCs can change their shape. They can change. Why? You do know WBCs are body's immune response or immune system's constituents, and that is why whenever they have to reach, say, inside a bloodstream or in capillaries, they need to change their shape to reach to a particular spot where they need to act. That's why WBCs in human body can change shape, not the other cells per se. But what I want to tell you is we can find different kinds of shapes of cells. In human body, they are composed of different kinds like RBC, nerve cells which are elongated. So shape of cell can be different. Number of cells can be billions in human body. Apart from that, size of a cell. A size of a cell also varies. Please remember, Generally, we say cells are microscopic. But have you ever seen an egg? We all see an egg with the naked eye, right? Egg is also a kind of single cell initially. But when egg hatches into a chick, that chick is a multicellular organism or a multicellular living being. But when the egg is laid, that egg initially is a single cell. Slowly and steadily, cell division takes place, and then a chick comes out of egg. So egg is basically a single cell itself. So now what my understanding has become, that size of a cell can be as small as say 0.1 to 0.5 micrometers, because I cannot see bacteria with my naked eye. I need microscope to view it. But there are many eggs that I can see. And one of the biggest eggs is the egg of an ostrich, which measures about 17 centimeters, 17 centimeters by 13 centimeters approximately, 170 mm by 130 mm, which is huge, which is almost this big. Okay. So a cell depends, size of a cell depends on the organism. But please remember, size of a cell does not have anything to do with the size of the animal. For example, if you have a conception now that if there is a rat is small organism, you think that the cells in this rat are very small. And I have an elephant which is so huge, so big. Do you think elephant has bigger cells? No. Elephant has large number of cells. Remember that size of the cell has no relation with the size of the body of the animal. So that way, an elephant cells and a rat cells may be of similar size. It depends on the function of the cell. Please remember that. Because if we talk about elephant also and rat also, say both are animals. One is huge in size, one is very small in size. If we talk about their nerve cells, they are elongated, they are almost of same size. That means in elephant, the number of cells are high. It's not the size of the cell which is big. It's very important pointer, because in MCQ, many aspirants might get stuck here, that they think that bigger animals can have bigger cells. No, there's no need like that. There is no relation between the size of the cell and size of the animal. Please note this down. Right? Now, we spoke about the number of cells, we spoke about the shape of the cell, size of the cell. Now, what is the structure of the cell? Whenever we talk about cell, we can divide a cell into two categories. One is a prokaryotic cell, one is a eukaryotic cell. A prokaryotic cell is one. Whenever I mention prokaryotic, whenever anybody mentions a prokaryotic cell, I want all the UPSC aspirants to remember something called as bacteria. So all bacteria are prokaryotic cells. What is the meaning of prokaryotic? Prokaryotic, I can say they are primitive cells. Why we call them prokaryotic? Because they do not have a true nucleus. They do not have a true nucleus. They do not have true nucleus. Very important. Very, very important. You can see the structure of a prokaryote is something like this, where they do have a cell wall, they do have a cell membrane, but their nuclear material is spread throughout the cytoplasm. It does not have any outer covering. It does not have a nuclear membrane. That is why whenever a question arises, what is the meaning of prokaryote? Karyo means nucleus. Prokaryotic organisms are those which do not have a well-developed nucleus, which do not have a nuclear membrane. The nuclear material or the chromosomes are spread throughout the cell in the cytoplasm. That is the meaning of prokaryotic cell. But we are talking about human body, right? In human body, we find eukaryotic cells. A eukaryotic cell is one where nucleus is well developed. Nucleus is well developed, and this nucleus is enclosed by a nuclear membrane. Very important point. And when we talk about eukaryotic cell, we do have animal cell which have different kind of structures. You can see different kind of structure and organelles. Plant cells, again, organelles in plant and animal are quite common. Every cell, every eukaryotic cell, it has a nucleus which contains the nuclear information, but it is enclosed by a nuclear envelope. You can see this. Apart from that, there are many other organelles, like we have ribosomes, lysosomes, mitochondria, cytoplasm, right? We'll talk about some functions of this. From NCERT, we'll talk about some basic functions. Now, as I told you, whenever we talk about cell, every cell will have a cell membrane. A cell membrane is the outer coating. It is the outer coating or outer layer of a cell. It is like the door of a cell. A cell membrane is composed of different kind of proteinaceous members, proteins and lipids, and it is semi-permeable. You all know that cell performs metabolic activity. Now, for it to perform its metabolic activity, it needs some sort of input and it releases some residue or output. So it needs to be semi-permeable to input like food. I need carbohydrate, nutrients, fats, and I also release certain waste material. The cell releases waste material, so the waste has to be thrown out of the cell. So the cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. It is flexible, so it enables the cell to engulf the food, and it also enables the cell to interact with the external environment. And this is true. Cell membrane is present in all the cells. But remember, viruses do not have any sort of cell membrane. In fact, viruses are not considered as, I would say, microorganisms or living organisms per se. Viruses are a different breed. They come somewhere in between living organisms and non-living organisms. All right. So cell membrane is present both in plant cell as well as animal cell. It's the outer layer. Many cells, especially plant cells, they have cell wall as well. Plant cells, they have cell wall as well. I told you, if there is a cell, this is the outer layer. Outer layer is a cell membrane. Beyond this outer layer of cell membrane, there is another cell wall which is thick. This cell wall is mostly present in plant cells. Okay, this is the cell wall. Please remember, cell wall is present in plants. Cell wall is present in some fungi. Remember, cell wall is also present in many bacteria. It's a very important thing. Cell wall is present in many bacteria as well. Cell wall, it protects. Cell wall not only gives the shape to the cell, but it also protects the cell from any sort of mechanical damage and infection. It also acts as an interaction between one cell to another cell, and mostly present in plant cells. Remember, animals, humans, we do not have any sort of cell wall on our cells. Cell wall is present only for plant cell, some fungi cells, some bacterial cells. Clear? Right. Cell membrane and cell wall. Apart from that, every cell has cytoplasm. Now, this cytoplasm is a jelly-like structure. If this is a cell, there is a jelly-like structure inside the cell, which is made up of, or which is composed of, water, salts, and various other organic molecules. What is the job of this cytoplasm? This cytoplasm hosts or allows other cell organelles to perform their specific functions. As I've showed you the cell structure here, in an animal cell, you have so many cell organelles. You have mitochondria, you have nucleus, you have smooth endoplasmic reticulum, you have Golgi complex, you have centrioles, you have many other things. And all these things are hosted in a jelly-like substance called as cytoplasm, right? Cytoplasm is written here. So cytoplasm, it hosts the other organelles. Apart from this, every cell has a nucleus. Now, this is the most important part of any cell. I told you, every cell has a cell membrane. Animal cell does not have a cell wall. Cells have a nucleus. A nucleus in eukaryotic cells, they have a nuclear membrane. Inside, they have a nuclear membrane. Now, this nuclear membrane, it separates nucleus from other parts. It separates nucleus from cytoplasm as well. Nucleus is like the control center of a cell. This nucleus contains chromosomes. These chromosomes are made up of DNA, and this DNA is our genetic information. Our DNA is composed of, human DNA is composed of about 20 to 25,000 genes, which have already been mapped. These genes are responsible for our characteristic features, and these are all housed inside the nucleus. You can see the structure of nucleus. There is a nuclear membrane, and inside this nuclear membrane, there is a thick chromatin. There is a thick chromatin, and if you zoom in this chromatin, you will find chromosomes. Chromosomes are made up of DNA, and DNA has your genetic information. In fact, nucleus not only is responsible for inheritance or genetic information, it is also responsible as a control center of your cell. All the activities, they are run through the nucleus or the nuclear information itself. All right. Apart from these, these cells also have vacuoles. Now these vacuoles are empty spaces in a cell. As I told you, if there is a cell like this, there is a nucleus, there are big vacuoles inside a cell. These vacuoles are empty spaces which are spaces for storage. They are storage stacks. And what do they store? They store solids, they store carbohydrates, fats, lipids, etc. They also store liquids. It can be used for storing of water. They also help in gas exchange. They also help in storage of waste material. So vacuoles are like storage sacks in a cell which can store solid, liquid, gaseous material. All right. In fact, remember, plant cells have huge vacuoles. Plant cells, they have bigger vacuoles, and it does make sense also, isn't it? Why? Because plant cells, they need more water, they need gas exchange. That's why vacuoles help in that. But in an animal cell, vacuoles are rather smaller. In fact, in some animal cells, you may not find vacuoles also. But remember, plant cells have bigger vacuoles, animal cells have smaller vacuoles, storage areas. Apart from this, there are plastids which are present specifically in plant cell. Specifically in plant cell. Now, these plastids are basically certain pigments which help in specific function. Have you observed any plant? Why is the color of the leaves green? Because in these leaves, there is a plastid called as chloroplast. We have a plastid called as chloroplast. And this chloroplast contains chlorophyll. And this chlorophyll helps in photosynthesis. And please remember, in plants, it's not just chloroplast. There are many other plastids like leucoplasts, amyloplasts, etc., which have specific functions. In fact, it is said that for plants, plastid performs a job of mitochondria because they produce energy. Photosynthesis takes place there, right? So plastids are specific to plant cells. In this interaction, what we have understood, cell wall is not present in animals. Plastids are not present in animal cells. Both these things, plastids and cell wall, they are not present in animal cells. That's what we have established. Also, we spoke about prokaryotes and eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, nuclear membrane is missing, not the cell membrane. Nuclear membrane is missing. There is no nuclear membrane. There is no true nucleus form. The nuclear material is spread throughout the cytoplasm. But in an animal cell, the nuclear material is restricted within the nuclear membrane. Now, apart from this, there are many other organelles which we'll talk in our subsequent interaction when we reach into class 9 or class 10. But right now, just so that a base is built, so that you remember, as I told you, nucleus, it controls all the activities of the cell. There are other organelles like endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum helps in folding of proteins. In fact, it helps in communication between the nucleus and other organelles. There is also another organelle called as Golgi body or Golgi complex. Now, this helps in packing and transporting proteins. I already told you about vacuoles. Vacuoles are storage materials. There are also organelles called lysosomes. These lysosomes are waste disposal system of the body. They help in breaking down the molecules. They produce some kind of enzymes which helps in digestion. Apart from that, there is one very important organelle of any cell which is called mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. In mitochondria, the cellular respiration takes place. It uses the basic ingredients or basic nutrients that we eat. It oxidizes them. We use oxygen and those nutrients to produce energy and carbon dioxide. This reaction or this cycle happens in mitochondria. Apart from that, there are ribosomes which produces protein. I told you about cell membrane and cytoplasm. Cell membrane protects the cell. Cytoplasm, it is a fill inside the cell. All right. Please remember this. Apart from this, there is one more very important information in this slide. In this slide, there are a few things written. I want you to remember these things. The cell organelles or specialized organelles are found in eukaryotic cell. But in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, we find three important things, or there is a commonality. Ribosomes, cell membrane, and cytoplasm, all three are found in both eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. Very important, because this is a point where many aspirants might get stuck. It's a pitfall for them because they think, I already know organelles, specialized organelles are missing from prokaryotic cell. Yes, but remember, prokaryotic cells have their own specialized ribosomes. We'll talk about these ribosomes, specialized ribosomes, also in our subsequent discussions. So let's end the discussion by a comparison. Now, this is a comparison here. You can see a plant cell has big vacuole. There is a very big vacuole here. But in an animal cell, you have a smaller vacuole here. Both have cytoplasm. Yes. I also told you that in a plant cell, there is a cell wall, and in animal cell wall is missing. Apart from that, these plant cells, they have chloroplast. That means they have plastids. But animal cells do not have plastids. These are the basic differences. In fact, there is a small activity for all of you to test here, plant cell and animal cells, right? Nucleus is present in both. Nuclear membrane is present in both because both are eukaryotic cells. Cytoplasm is present in both. If you talk about plastids, in plant cell, plastids are present, but in animal cell, this is absent. Very important. Apart from that, vacuole is present here, but vacuole is large in plant cell. Vacuole is present in animal cells, but these are small in size. That's the basic understanding from the chapter cell, its structure and its functions. This is the basic knowledge. In fact, we'll be building on this knowledge again going forward in class 9, class 10 and in our subsequent discussions as well. That's it in this particular video. Thank you for watching this video. Please remember, if you have liked this video, you can always follow me on my social media handle @RahulSai222. If you have any queries, any doubts, any suggestions, feedback, whatever it is, you can always reach out to me on IG. I do respond on Saturdays and Sundays. Thank you for watching this again. Jai Hind.